Daniel does something interesting here that if you compare to the rest of the book, you'll catch what's going on. In the rest of the book, it's always, "Oh, king, live forever." In ancient cultures, there's this pomp and circumstance that always meets a dignitary. Well, Daniel knows something that this guy doesn't know. First of all, he doesn't care about this kid at all because this kid has treated his God with contempt. He's been flippant, partying with the temple cups and things like that. But Daniel also knows what the writing on the wall means. So you'll notice that right here, Daniel doesn't do the, "O king, live forever, may your servant humbly serve you," all that kind of stuff. He just says, "Look, I'm too old for all that stuff. I'm sorry." Daniel answered the king, "You may keep your gifts and give your reward to someone else. However, I will read the inscription for your king and make the interpretation known to him. Your majesty, the most high God, gave sovereignty, greatness, glory, and majesty to your predecessor, Nebuchadnezzar. Because of the greatness he gave him, all peoples, nations, and languages were terrified and fearful of him. He killed anyone he wanted and kept alive anyone he wanted. He exalted anyone he wanted and humbled anyone he wanted. But when his heart was exalted and his spirit became arrogant, he was deposed from his royal throne, and his glory was taken from him. He's driven away from his people. His mind was like an animal's." He's recounting all of this stuff that happened in Daniel chapter 4, actually. And he was fed grass like the cattle. But you, his successor, Belshazzar, have not humbled your heart, even though you knew all this. Instead, you have exalted yourself against the Lord of heaven. The vessels of his house were brought to you, as you and your nobles, wives, and concubines drank from them. You praised the gods made of silver and gold, bronze, iron, wood, and stone, which you did not see, hear, or understand. But you have not glorified the God who holds your life breath in your hand. And then he goes on to say the inscription, many, tekel upharsin, numbered, weighed, and divided. Your days are numbered. You've been weighed and found wanting. And this day the kingdom will be taken from you, is the short version. And the king says, "Wow, that's right. You're amazing." And he goes on to anoint Daniel a third ruler of the kingdom. So, just in this chapter alone, we get some interesting pieces here. First of all, Belshazzar was ruler over Babylon. That's a claim that may be able to be checked historically. Did this guy really exist? Did he live? He was a son, a descendant of Nebuchadnezzar. Babylon was to be conquered in one night. This night, the kingdom is taken from you. Right? Daniel says, right now, your time. I think this is why he wasn't too worried. What's he going to do to me? You know, will your boss fire you his last day on the job? I don't know. Darius the Mede would receive the kingdom, and Daniel was promised to be a third ruler over the kingdom. Now that third ruler thing is kind of strange, isn't it? You know, why would it be the third ruler as opposed to something else? Those are the kind of puzzles that make Christian scholars and archaeologists go, I need to check these things out. A German commentary in 1850 claimed the name King Belshazzar was not to be found outside of the book of Daniel. So it was just a figment of the author's imagination. He made up Belshazzar. But there's something that's interesting in Daniel, in that Daniel was promised a reward as the third highest ruler. Now that's strange. You know, if you do something good for the king, normally he makes you maybe your right-hand man, or he might promote you to one of the 20 or 10 or 12 or whoever the prefects are. But third highest, why third highest? Well, we couldn't figure this out for a while. Afterwards, in 1854, a British consul in Iraq was excavating ancient ruins of a tower on behalf of the British Museum. He discovered some 4-inch long clay cylinders covered in cuneiform script dating from the 6th century BC. It said, basically, when the council took his finds to Baghdad, a senior colleague was able to read the inscriptions, and Henry Wollaston was the guy who was the expert, the guy who deciphered the Babylonian script. And the inscription had been written at the command of Nabonidus, king of Babylon, 555 to 539 BC. This was, by the way, the Nabonidus cylinder was in LA, like last year. It was on tour. I don't know if it's still here or not, but they move it around. The words they carried to prove that the ruined tower was the temple of the city Ur. The words were a prayer for the long life and good health of Nabonidus, who was the ruler, and for his eldest son, and the son was written in cuneiform, Belshazzar. So why did Belshazzar promise Daniel to be the third king? Because he was number 2. That's right. He couldn't promise him anything by himself. Nabonidus was out on the battlefield. He was away. Belshazzar, okay, son, I'm going to take care of the enemy. You run things around here. Whatever he says goes. He's ruler around here. So Belshazzar says, well, I can only make you number 3. Okay. Now, how do you invent that? If Belshazzar was just a figment of the imagination, you see the problem.